Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Grade 10 English Communicative Important Questions. First question. Even though both the Frog and the Vikram Seth's poem The Frog and the Nightingale and Abel's children from the play The Dear Departed display greed, there are differences. Elaborate in about 150 words how the greed of the frog and that of Abel's children differ in motivation, actions, relationship, and consequences. In Vikram Seth's poem The Frog and the Nightingale, the Stanley Houghton's play Dear Departed, greed is shown in different ways. The frog's greed is motivated by jealousy and desire for money. He exploits the nightingale's talent, forcing her to sing endlessly so that he can earn from audiences. His actions are manipulative and selfish, and his relationship with the nightingale is one of exploitation. The consequence is tragic. The nightingale loses confidence, becomes exhausted, and dies, while the frog remains unaffected and continues croaking. Abel's children, on the other hand, are motivated by material inheritance. Their greed arises from selfishness and rivalry. They quarrel over their father's property, even before his death, showing disrespect and lack of love. Their actions reveal hypocrisy and insensitivity. The consequence is humiliation as Abel exposes their greed and mocks them. Thus, the frog's greed destroys talent while Abel's children's greed destroys family bonds. Elucidate how the concept of time is explored in Ozymandias and Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments. In both Ozymandias by Shelley and Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments by Shakespeare, the concept of time is explored as a powerful force that destroys human pride and material glory. Shelley shows how Ozymandias, once a mighty king, built a grand statue to display his greatness, but time reduced it to ruins in a vast desert. His empire vanished, leaving only broken fragments to mock his arrogance. Shakespeare, however, contrasts this by claiming that while marble statues and gilded monuments will be ruined by time, wars, and decay, poetry will endure. His verses will immortalize the memory of his beloved, defying time's destructive power. Thus, both poems highlight time's supremacy. Shelley emphasizes the futility of human pride, while Shakespeare celebrates the immortality of art and love. Together, they show that true value lies not in wealth or monuments, but in humility and creativity. From the poems The Rime of Ancient Mariner and The Snake, discuss how the characters, the albatross and the snake, view the human attitude and perspective towards creatures. In the Rime of Ancient Mariner, the albatross symbolizes innocence and nature's blessing. The mariner's killing of the bird shows human arrogance and disrespect towards creatures. Punishment that follows reflects how nature condemns such cruelty, suggesting that humans must treat all beings with reverence. In The Snake, the poet admires the snake's dignity and calmness, but his human upbringing makes him feel guilty for not harming it. The snake represents the natural world's quiet majesty, while the poet's hesitation shows how human attitudes are often shaped by fear and prejudice. Together, The albatross and the snake highlight that creatures deserve respect, and human arrogance or fear towards them leads to guilt, punishment, or regret. Discuss how the supernatural is portrayed in the drama excerpt Julius Caesar and a Shady Plot, and examine how these portrayals serve to influence the character's action and the progression of the plot in each work. In Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, the supernatural is portrayed through omens, dreams, and warnings. The soothsayer's famous line, "Beware the Ides of March," California's dream of Caesar's murder, and strange occurrences in nature all foreshadow Caesar's assassination. These supernatural signs create an atmosphere of fear and inevitability. They influence characters' actions. California urges Caesar to stay home, and Caesar's pride makes him ignore the warnings, leading directly to his tragic death. In Elsie Brown's A Shady Plot, the supernatural appears humorously through the ghost Helen and the Ouija board. Unlike the ominous signs in Julius Caesar, these ghosts complain about being overused in stories and threaten a strike. Their presence influences John Hallock, who becomes anxious and confused and creates comic misunderstanding with his wife. Thus, whilst Julius Caesar uses the supernatural to heighten tragedy and fate, a Shady Plot employs it for satire and humor, shaping the plot in contrasting ways. Both poems, The Rime of Ancient Mariner and The Snake, depict the killing or harm of an innocent creature. Compare how the poets use these actions to reflect on human guilt and morality. In Coleridge's poem, The Rime of Ancient Mariner, and D.H. Lawrence's The Snake, the killing or harm of an innocent creature becomes a powerful symbol of human guilt and morality. In Coleridge's poem, the mariner shoots the albatross without reason, an act of pride and thoughtlessness. This crime against nature brings a curse upon him and his shipmates, showing how human arrogance disrupts the balance of creation. In Lawrence's The Snake, the poet encounters a harmless snake at a water trough. Though he admires its dignity, he throws a log at it, thinking that snakes are dangerous. Immediately he feels shame and regret, realizing he has done wrong to a noble creature. Thus, both poems highlighting that harming innocent beings leads to deep guilt. Coleridge stresses spiritual punishment, while Lawrence emphasizes inner conscience and morality. The story Virtually True has elements of virtual reality and advanced technology that contrasts with the traditional ghostly occurrence in Shady Plot. How do these contrasting themes and narrative style contribute to the overall tone and meaning of each story? In Virtually True by Paul Stewart, the central theme revolves around virtual reality and advanced technology. The story shows how modern inventions can blur the line between the real and the digital world. The narrative style is futuristic and adventurous, creating a tone of excitement and suspense. The use of technology highlights human curiosity and the potential of science to solve problems, but also raises questions upon dependence on machines. In contrast, Elsie Brown's A Shady Plot uses traditional ghostly occurrences to build humor and satire. The supernatural elements such as the ghost Helen and the Ouija board are presented in a light-hearted way. The narrative style is witty and comic, creating a playful tone. The story comments on human folly, superstition, and the writer's struggle for inspiration. Thus, while Virtually True emphasizes technology and modernity, A Shady Plot relies on supernatural comedy. Together, they show how different narrative styles shape tone and meaning. Both the poem The Frog and the Nightingale and the story Mrs. Packletide's Tiger reflects theme of exploitation of others in pursuit of personal benefit. How, according to you, do each of these literary works manipulate situations to attain their personal desires, and with what consequences? In The Frog and the Nightingale, the frog exploits the nightingale's talent for his own gain. He manipulates her into singing excessively, charging audiences and earning money, while pretending to be her mentor. The frog's selfishness and misuse of influence ultimately lead to Nightingale's death, showing how exploitation destroys innocence and talent. In Mrs. Packletide's Tiger, she exploits the villagers and the tiger to satisfy her vanity and outshine her rival, Luna Bimberton. She arranges the hunt not out of courage, but for social prestige. However, her plan backfires when the tiger dies of a heart attack before being shot, and she is later blackmailed by her paid companion, Miss Mebbin. The consequence is humiliation and loss of money, highlighting the futility of selfish manipulation. Thus, both works show how exploiting others for personal benefit may bring temporary satisfaction, but ultimately leads to destruction, humiliation, or regret. Pride goes before a fall. Justify the statement on basis of the chapter Mrs. Packletide's Tiger. In Sake's story, Mrs. Packletide's Tiger, the proverb, pride goes before a fall, is clearly illustrated. Mrs. Packletide's motivation for organizing the tiger hunt was not courage or adventure, but sheer pride and jealousy. She wanted to outshine her rival, Luna Bimberton, who had recently gained attention by flying in an aeroplane. To prove herself superior, Mrs. Packletide arranged to shoot a tiger, relying on villagers and her companion, Miss Mebbin, rather than her own skill. Ironically, the tiger died of fright before she could fire a proper shot, exposing the hollowness of her achievement. Her pride led her to claim false glory, but this soon turned into humiliation when Mrs. Mebbin blackmailed her with the truth. Thus, her vanity and pride resulted in loss of money, dignity, and peace of mind. The story shows that pride, when rooted in jealousy and vanity, inevitably leads to downfall. Only the bearer knows where the shoe pinches. Elucidate the statement with reference to the story The Letter. In Dhumketu's story The Letter, the proverb only the bearer knows where the shoe pinches is clearly illustrated through the character of Ali. Once a hunter, Ali undergoes a transformation after his daughter Miriam leaves him. He begins to understand the pain of separation and waits daily at the post office for a letter from her. The clerks mock him, but only Ali knows the depth of his suffering. His silent endurance shows that personal grief cannot be measured or understood by outsiders. The postmaster, initially indifferent, later experiences the same anguish when he anxiously waits for news from his own daughter. It is then that he realizes Ali's pain and the truth of the proverb. The story highlights that only the person enduring hardship truly understands its weight, while others remain unaware until they face the similar circumstances themselves. How do Jacopo and Nicola show their dedication and love for their family member in Two Gentlemen of Verona? Jacopo and Nicola show their dedication and love for their sister Lucia by working very hard and sacrificing their own comfort. They take up small jobs like selling fruit, shining shoes, and running errands, not for themselves, but to pay for her medical treatment after she falls ill with tuberculosis. Even though they are young boys, they act with great responsibility and never complain about their struggles. Their quiet determination and willingness to do anything for their sister prove how deeply they care for her and how strong their love is. Describe how Shelley brings out the futility of power and riches in the poem Ozymandias. In Ozymandias, Shelley shows that power and riches do not last forever. The mighty king Ozymandias once ruled with pride and believed his empire would remain strong for all time. He had a huge statue built to display his greatness, but now only broken pieces of the statue lie in the desert with nothing left of his empire. The empty sands around the ruins show how time destroys human pride and wealth. Shelley's poem teaches that arrogance and dependence on power are useless because nature and time are stronger than kings' riches or monuments. Where there is a will, there is a way. How did the two boys prove it? This question is from the story Two Gentlemen of Verona. In Two Gentlemen of Verona, Jacopo and Nicola proved that where there is a will, there is a way through their hard work and determination. Despite being very young and facing hardships after the war, they took up small jobs like selling fruit, polishing shoes, and running errands. They never gave up because their strong will was to earn money for their sister Lucia's treatment. Their dedication and persistence showed that with a firm will, one can always find a way to overcome difficulties. In the poems The Frog and the Nightingale and Ozymandias discuss how the characters' attitude towards power and influence contribute to their respective outcomes. In the poem The Frog and the Nightingale, the frog misuses his power and influence. He is jealous of Nightingale's talent and manipulates her into over-practicing, exploiting her for money and fame. His arrogant attitude and selfish misuse of authority leads to the Nightingale's death, showing how greed and misuse of influence can destroy others. In Ozymandias, the king is proud and boastful of his power, believing his empire will last forever. However, his arrogance is proven wrong when only ruins of his statue remain in the desert. His attitude of pride and misuse of power results in his downfall and forgotten legacy. Both poems highlight that arrogance and misuse of influence lead to destruction, while true greatness lies in humility and wisdom. Imagine that the mariner hears of Mrs. Packletide's hunt and decides to share some advice with her about the impact of willfully killing creatures. As the mariner, write this letter in about 150 words to Mrs. Packletide based on the consequences following your own experience of having killed a creature intentionally. Dear Mrs. Packletide, I have heard of your recent hunt undertaken to gain fame and outshine your rival. Allow me, as one who has suffered greatly for killing a creature without thought, to share my experience. Long ago, I shot an innocent albatross, not out of need, but out of pride. That single act brought misery upon my shipmates and me. Nature turned against us, and I was cursed to wander retelling my tale as punishment. Killing of vanity or amusement brings no true honor. Every creature has its place in the world, and to destroy it carelessly is to disturb the balance of life. Your tiger hunt may have won you momentary applause, but such glory is hollow. Respect for life is the only lasting reward. I urge you to reflect on my fate and learn that compassion is greater than pride. Yours sincerely, the Ancient Mariner. Discuss the use of supernatural in the poem The Rime of Ancient Mariner. In the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, the supernatural makes the story mysterious and powerful. The ghost ship with death and life in death, the curse of the dead sailors, the spirits that move the ship, and the mariner's hypnotic glittering eye all show forces beyond human control. These elements punish the mariner for killing the albatross and later guide him to repentance. The supernatural adds fear, wonder, and teaches the lesson that humans must respect all of God's creatures. The poet uses supernatural forces, spirits, ghostly ships, curses, and hypnotic powers to dramatize the mariner's journey from sin to repentance, making the poem both eerie and deeply moral. The poem The Snake reminds us of the fact that animals too have a right to life which we have no right to deny them. Describe how man should coexist with nature and its creatures for ecological balance. In the poem Snake, the poet reminds us that animals too have a right to live freely, and humans must respect them. Man should learn to coexist with nature by treating all creatures with kindness and avoiding harm. Every animal plays an important role in maintaining ecological balance, and disturbing them leads to problems in the environment. Instead of fearing of destroying them, humans should admire their beauty and dignity. By living in harmony with nature, protecting wildlife, and respecting all forms of life, man can ensure ecological balance and a healthier, peaceful world for future generations. Et tu, Brute. These were the last words of Julius Caesar. Elucidate with reference to the drama Julius Caesar. Why did Caesar say these words before his death? In Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, the words et tu, Brute, and you, Brutus, are Caesar's final utterance as he is stabbed by conspirators. Caesar had trusted Brutus deeply, considering him almost like a son. When he sees Brutus among his assassins, he feels utterly betrayed. The phrase reflects his shock and despair that even Brutus, whom he believed loyal, has joined the plot. Realizing that resistance is futile, Caesar accepts his fate and falls, saying these words. They symbolize ultimate betrayal and mark the tragic climax of the play. Willpower and determination bring success against all odds. Comment with reference to virtually true. In virtually true, with willpower and determination are shown as key to success. Sebastian, trapped in the virtual world after an accident, does not give up. His strong will and the narrator's determination to help him lead to his rescue. Despite the odds, their persistence overcomes technological barriers. The story highlights that courage, focus, and determination can triumph even in difficult situations. Thus, virtually true proves that success is possible when one refuses to surrender to challenges. In the poems Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley and Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments by William Shakespeare, the concept of time is explored, but each poet treats it in a distinct manner. Elucidate. In Ozymandias, Shelley presents time as a destructive force that erases human pride and power. The ruined statue of the mighty king shows how even grandeur and authority crumble before time's passage. In contrast, Shakespeare in Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments treats time as conquerable through poetry. He argues that verse can immortalize human achievements more effectively than stone or gold, defying decay. Thus, while Shelley highlights time's inevitability, Shakespeare celebrates art's power to preserve memory against time's destruction. Both the stories, Two Gentlemen of Verona and the letter, teaches us not to lose hope and courage even in adverse situations. Write a letter to a friend justifying the statement with reference to the stories. From your name to friend's name, subject, lessons of hope and courage from literature. Dear friend, I recently read Two Gentlemen of Verona and the letter, and both inspired me deeply. In the first story, the two brothers, despite poverty and hardship, show courage and devotion while caring for their sister. Their determination teaches us to never lose hope. Similarly, in the letter, Ali patiently waits for news from his daughter, showing faith and endurance even in loneliness. These stories remind us that courage and hope help us face adversity with strength. Yours lovingly, your name. Thank you.